Was at the highest of highs after he won that Super Bowl. And then the very next year, he only won 5 games with this Rams team, and he was very open about those emotions and the toll that season took on him. I asked him about it this week, and he told me that sometimes you have to go through things like that. As much as he doesn't want or wish that they went through it, he said setbacks build that resilience, that grit. And Rob Havenstein told me this week, you can feel a renewed sense of energy from Sean McVay. And he also said one thing about Sean McVay, he doesn't make anything up. He says when he's telling guys that he believes in them and he loves this team, he actually means it. And he said this year, when they faced adversity, it's all about how do they respond. And they've responded. Matthew Stafford throwing 7 touchdown passes in the past 2 games, which is tied for the most in the NFL. Here they sit at 6-6, Steve and Andrew and Cynthia. A huge game today as they are fighting for a playoff spot.
And they are right back in it, and they will certainly face adversity, Steve, here today, because the Ravens, coming off a bye, are well rested, and they're coming after, you would have to think, Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, I mean, and I want to talk about the Ravens defense a little bit here and how they counter what the Rams like to do. We know that Sean McVay and the Rams love the crossing routes, right, Andrew? Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, they love coming across the middle. Well, that is the strength of the Ravens defense. You know, you look at Roquan Smith in the middle of the field. Patrick Queen, the linebackers, they're at the second level where the Rams like to go to the intermediate routes. But then they have also Kyle Hamilton. As you see him right here, this safety has some of the greatest range, Cynthia, of any free safety in the NFL. So he's also going to be an issue. And Geno Stone, too, the interception machine. So where the Rams like to operate is also to the strength of where the Ravens do some of their best damage on defense. Andrew, the second best pass defense in the NFL, only allowed 10 passing TDs.
My favorite description of Kyle Hamilton this year, Cynthia, Kevin Stefanski called him Wemby, as in Victor Wembanyama, playing nickel.
That's a really good job, Kevin.
I don't think he's that tall, but yeah.
No, but good. That's a pretty apt comparison. Yeah. I'm actually looking at the Rams on the other side of the ball. So let's take out Aaron Donald and just say the rest of the Rams defense, which, by the way, they're playing with a bunch of guys who weren't necessarily first-round picks. So I'm giving them a lot of credit for being in this position to be playoff almost eligible this late in the game. But they're not great against the run. And stopping the run here, especially against the Ravens in the rain, and overcoming the adversity that is Lamar Jackson is going to be very difficult. They went from being one of the best run defenses to one of the worst very, very quickly. So a lot of interesting notes here of like bad fits for the Ravens schematically, or for the Rams schematically in this Ravens run defense. Offense.
Safety for the Rams, Jordan Fuller, told me this week, you have to be able to defend every blade of grass out here because of all the ways the Ravens can attack you. Keep in mind, Lamar Jackson is 18-1 against NFC opponents. You guys remember the 2 NFC games they played here this season? Seahawks and Lions were both blowout wins for this team. Of course, the weather going to be a factor here today. Keep an eye on that. It's raining steadily. That's expected to continue throughout the entire game, guys.
Which means maybe they run it. They always run it there. Baltimore has, as a team, 28 consecutive games running for 100 yards. Wow. The next longest streak in the NFL is 5. Ravens have done it 28 straight. Thank you, Bridget Condon, there live in Baltimore.
The 17th play of this drive. Got to get to the 14. Allen fires it into wide open. Remarkable.
Respond to the challenge.
Cuts it upfield. He might be gone.
Loading, baby.
What do the Bills have left in the tank?
And there it is.
It'll take a miracle now for Kansas City, but it's not over yet.
The kick is good.
Tail.
Sudden death overtime. Chiefs have first possession. They must have a touchdown to win the game.
Touchdown! Chiefs to the championship game.
That was a classic. They changed the overtime rules because of it. This is a classic quarterback rivalry. 2 great teams that have very different positions right now. The AFC Standings. Games later today in Arrowhead. The Chiefs lead the AFC West at 9-4. They don't look the same. They don't look right, do they? The Bills are 6-6, and very much with articles being written about Sean McDermott and his future this week as well. Feel like this is a referendum for both teams? How do the Bills show up and play here today, Steve Weich? What do the Chiefs do today with their offensive struggles and really needing to show that after losing at Lambeau last week, this is a legit championship team, not just a team leading a division with Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, this is a huge game because we know Buffalo is fighting for their playoff lives. We've seen the turmoil that has happened up there this week, and they're 1-5 on the road. But Kansas City, to me, is the issue because they haven't looked the same. And we're talking about the lack of weapons, this and that. It's penalties. When you watch this Chiefs offense, they will get into a flow and then get down like we're seeing in the red zone here and have penalties. Guys, they have 15 offensive penalties in the past 3 games for 150 yards. So that's negative footage. But what it also does is instead of it maybe being a 1st and 10, or a 1st and 5, it is 2nd and 15. It puts them in bad situations where they're not advancing the football, they're not putting points on the board, they're maybe asking Patrick Mahomes to throw to receivers who aren't playing well. The abundance of penalties, to me, is breaking what they love to do, and that is the momentum and the flow, and that's expanding some of the other issues that they're having offensively.
Well, I just want to go over how important this is for the Bills. As of right now, they got a little bit of help with some interesting losses last week and again on Thursday. However, their playoff chances right now stand at about 27 percentage points. So 27% of the time they make it to the postseason. Should they win at Arrowhead tonight, 45%. If they lose, that goes down to 11.
Ruh-roh.
And so this is a de facto playoff game for them. They must win this one, and then they have to worry about the Cowboys next week. But when you're looking at what is really at stake here, especially with all of their injuries on defense, we've been talking about how kind of the cultural narrative going on around them this week. However, their defense is still missing a bunch of huge pieces. So that's going to be an interesting challenge to overcome. But this is this probably is the Bills' season.
Yeah,
it really is.
It is. And for the Chiefs, they have the easiest remaining strength of schedule. Easiest right now on win percentage. Let's go to Arrowhead and bring in James Palmer here. On the flip side of that, as Cynthia said, the Bills' schedule doesn't get any easier, no. James. This is a referendum, I think, in many people's eyes, on Sean McDermott and this locker room and this team's future.
Yeah, Andrew, and we know that they've had a lot of off-the-field discussions and distractions throughout this week, talking to people inside that building. My understanding is as the week went on, things actually started to calm down, in a sense, in that locker room as they prepared for this game, as Cynthia's talking about, essentially a playoff game. And what I'm looking for is the way Josh Allen operates, really, with this offense that is adding a massive piece in Dawson Knox coming off of IR, who was one of his favorite targets down there in the red zone, and they're already one of the best red zone teams in football. What I did gather was this past week when they had a bye, interim offensive coordinator Joe Brady finding different ways and different formations to put both Knox and Dalton Kincaid, who has thrived and led this team in catches since Knox has been out, putting both of them on the field at the same time, making things more complex for this talented Chiefs defense, and also look for Josh Allen to take shots when he gets to the middle of the field. That's where he feels like if Steve Spagnuolo loves to get aggressive, blitzes him in a couple spots, maybe a zero blitz or two, that he'd like to go deep. Now that he has all these different targets at his disposal, can they put up some big points? Because we know the way the Chiefs have struggled down there in the red zone.
Yeah, JP, on that note, we know the Chiefs have some key injuries on that safety spot back there, which could make them vulnerable to what you're talking about. But they do get back linebacker Nick Bolton today.
Huge deal.
You know, I mean, as Cynthia's saying, that's huge because we know his speed, his ability to cover and track in that intermediate area. So what about the Chiefs' defense in kind of going against what you were just talking about, what the Bills like to do in that passing game?
Yeah, you mentioned their loss in the secondary. I think that's the one when I talk about explosive plays. It's Brian Cook, maybe their best deep ball defender at the safety spot, put on IR this week. That's what impacts things when I'm looking for Josh Allen to go deep. But Nick Bolton changes this entire defense. You mentioned the speed, Steve, sideline to sideline. Because when I talked to Steve Spagnuolo and these guys in this defensive side of the ball this week, we're concerned about Josh Allen running the football, James Cook running the football. We know that's happening more under Joe Brady. They run it on first down like consistently. Nick Bolton plays a massive offensive part in that, specifically if Allen wants to run outside of the pocket. His speed to cut down some of those runs is really big for this Kansas City team. And it's funny because Spags said to his group this week, when he's outside the pocket, remember, you've played him before, but Josh Allen is a fullback when he's carrying the football outside of the pocket. Nick Bolton is a big addition to this defense, and he's really the heart and soul and the leader of the group as well.
And Josh Allen has found a way of late in December and January, regular season, to turn it on. 5-0 last year. They were able to close out strong in the regular season. They need to do that this year, starting today. Thank you, James Palmer, there live in sunny, what a change, Kansas City. Cynthia Freeland, we thank you kindly.
Thank you.
Back to Game Day morning, everyone. And coming up next, back to Cleveland, Amari Cooper, clear concussion protocol. He is up, he is active, and we are live with Sarah Walsh in Cleveland. You can follow that game, follow all the games on Game Center as soon as we get done. Coming up in 45 minutes, you're watching NFL Game Day Preview, everybody. Oh, no.
Philadelphia Eagles. They've been the best team in the National Football League.
We earned this moment. Go beat their ass. The more physical team gonna win this game today.
Hurts is lucky. He has plenty of time.
Oh, he fell down.
Hurts fell down. He got sacked. Runs into his own guy, Jurgens, and now gets sacked.
Where are the quarterback runs?
Were the Eagles' offense on the field?
The Birds' wings were clipped.
Fly. 49ers fly. This time he gets buried.
That was just an absolute takeover. Eagles come in limping against the Cowboys after a bad loss.
Oh, yeah, so the Eagles and Cowboys are playing again today for the second time in a month. And the Eagles, yet again, have a clinching scenario. Had one last week, have one again today. They'll know if the Rams win or lose. Same with the Seahawks by the time to take the field tonight in Dallas. And they could be win and in to officially become the first team to clinch a playoff spot. The Cowboys also have a clinching scenario. It's like a 6-team parlay, however. But I'm telling you,
we love them.
I'm telling you, Steve Wyche, there is a chance. Look, the big story here, plain and simple. Cowboys went into Philadelphia last time, couldn't win. Jane Slater, what's the story today?
This Texas Coast offense in Dallas took a while to heat up, but it's been on a roll since that Week 5 blowout loss to the San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, it was off to the slow start, and then you also had their play caller, Mike McCarthy, end up in surgery this week with acute appendicitis. But even though they've had some setbacks, they are ready to get back on the same page with this offense and rolling. In fact, when you consider the Eagles are meeting up with the Cowboys at a time that they're averaging 41 points per game here at AT&T Stadium. They even have won 14 straight, going all the way back to last season. Dak Prescott in the MVP conversation this year says that he takes the praise the same as he takes the criticism. It's all outside noise. In fact, he says the real football begins today.
Does begin today. Thank you. And it should, by the way, include Jane Slater. I'm sorry, it should include Micah Parsons. Thank you, Jane Slater. Micah Parsons, Steve White just added to the injury list with an illness. The Cowboys, though, say he is expected to play. This game is huge for both teams. If the Cowboys win, they get even in the standings here. If the Eagles win, they get the sweep.
Right.
Badly needed for the NFC East.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge game. And the fact that they're facing off each other, and Micah Parsons coming back is big because another player for the Philadelphia Eagles who is coming back is big as well, and that's tight end Dallas Goedert. Some of the offensive struggles that the Eagles have had the past couple weeks is because Goedert's been out with that fractured forearm that he sustained when these two teams met in early November. This is a player who is big with the downfield throws, usually near the hash marks like we're seeing right here. But, Andrew, he is also a fantastic run blocker. And if they got to keep him in on Max Pass Pro like you might have to do with Micah Parsons, he can do that as well. So getting Goedert back should open up this offense a little bit for the Philadelphia Eagles. And people have been concerned about what's going on with their offense. Quarterback Jalen Hurts. Again, I think the addition of having Dallas Goedert back is going to open things up a little bit against a very tough defense that matches up well because they've got 3 or 4 safeties that can pair up with a lot of the things that the Eagles like to do.
Listen, people concerned here about the Eagles' offense and Jalen, is he running, and the knee and all that. I'm honestly concerned a little bit more about their defense. You know, we saw them get punched in the mouth last week by the 49ers. That game was circled on the calendar. They knew what was coming. They knew the train was coming down the tracks, and they got run over by that train.
And here's something to look out in that regard. Those young defensive players, you know, Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, those guys are playing a lot more snaps than they anticipated because some of the injuries along the front. That's something that Dallas has got to exploit with the run game. But we also know this. The Philadelphia's linebackers have been very vulnerable. This has been something in the pass game and the run game. I would look for Dallas to try to exploit that in a lot of different ways with some maybe early crossing routes, some running game, putting Dak on the move to put those guys in very compromising positions. So those are something as well that's going to work negatively for the Eagles defense. But that's a great point by you.
It's why they signed the Eagles, that is, Shaq Leonard this week. Remember, he was choosing between the Cowboys and the Eagles. That game is on NBC tonight from Dallas. This game is about to get going on CBS from Cleveland. And this game includes Trevor Lawrence. What do you know? 6 days after what we were told was a high ankle sprain. Trevor Lawrence pulls a Patrick Mahomes, and he is up and he is active today. And he is starting. And we get more from Cleveland from Sarah Walsh.
The Jaguars are going to have Trevor Lawrence under center, a move that seemed inconceivable on Monday night when he went down with that high ankle sprain. Trevor has said all week that if he could be himself, he was going to go. We watched him in warm-ups. He was sprinting, he was cutting, he was jumping on that injured right ankle, and he did not look hampered by it at all, though I can't speak to how it actually feels inside. But Doug Peterson said that Trevor had made it very known how badly he wanted to play in this game. Of course, he will be without his leading receiver, and Christian Kirk, who was placed on injured reserve this week. He was also injured on Monday. On the Browns side of things, Joe Flacco is expected to start. He has been warming up with Amari Cooper, who is going to be active. He just cleared concussion protocol on Friday, but some surprising news for the Browns. They had expected their corner, Denzel Ward, to return today after missing his last 2 games. He talked about feeling good, but he has been since put on the inactive list.
Hey, thank you, Sarah Walsh. Denzel Ward was expected back. That was thought to be a huge boost for the Browns defensively, even in the run game. But, Steve, he is down. Also down DeJuan Jones, their right tackle, who tweaked a knee late in practice.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big blow because, you know, he's been playing pretty well. He's a very good run blocker. But that also goes to the point of the Jags defense. And when we last saw them, they were getting taken apart by Jake Driscoll, the Cincinnati Bengals. They have got to put some pressure on Joe Flacco, because if he's allowed to sit in that pocket for a couple seconds, he's going to get the ball downfield. That's one thing they like about Flacco, and why he's starting over Dorian Thompson-Robinson again today is he opens up their offense. Look right here in these highlights. The Jags defenders, they just did not show up on all three levels. That's something that has to change in a game like this today, especially because we know that Cleveland's going to try to throw the ball in this weather. Their secondary has got to make plays. They're not going to have to deal with this. One thing, Andrew, I think that was clever by Kevin Stefanski, the Browns coach, by not naming a starter right away. The Jaguars didn't know if they were going to have to rush from the inside to try to force someone like Flacco out of the pocket, which they'll do today, or if they're going to have to rush from the outside to keep DTR in the pocket. So now they're going to have to go back to those principles of the interior pass rush to try to get Flacco on the move.
Would not be surprised if DTR gets in there for a few plays. Remember, he did that in Seattle. One play, little flipped into Njoku when P.J. Walker, who was released yesterday, was the starter. Jacksonville is undefeated away from home, including London this year. 6-0 away from home. Matter of fact, they've won 8 consecutive games on the road, which is the longest road winning streak for any team ever in the NFL from Florida.
You're on fire with this.
Ever from Florida.
Wow.
All of the teams. Jacksonville's got the best road winning streak. All right, Justin Fields and the Bears are not on the road. They're at home. They get the Lions, and we get that one coming up on NFL Game Day Preview next. It's NFL Game Day Preview. Who is the man showing up in that nice ride? That is Alvin Kamara. And that's how he showed up today in New Orleans. Huge game for the Saints in the NFC South. Someone's got to win that division.
Yeah.
Is Alvin Kamara in your fantasy lineup today? Every week, we have someone here to remind you who needs to be in your lineup or maybe who to avoid today. It's the birthday boy, Adam.
Oh, my gosh. Thank you so much.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Is Alvin Kamara in your lineup on your birthday?
Absolutely.
He was just setting his lineup like 5
minutes. No, I was doing a bunch of lineups right now. Alvin Kamara. All the teams that I have Alvin Kamara in have done very well. He has been a find so far in fantasy football, so he's been great. He's going to do everything for the Saints this week. They have so many guys inactive. Taysom Hill's out.
Rashid Shaheed's out as well.
Yeah, he's out too, so it's going to be all Alvin Kamara, so I'm looking forward to that.
We're totally off script. Of course you're going to play.
Listen, that's what I did. Right. Listen, you don't know.
Let's do players you must start. Your must-start quarterback.
Right, well, I'm going to go.
You get choked up, I know.
I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes.
Okay.
Because all the teams that I have Patrick Mahomes in, not doing as well. And for a lot of people, you might already be done. It might not even help to let you know. But this is one of the players that I've been asked about the most this week. It's Patrick Mahomes, because a lot of people have gone out there and picked up Brock Purdy, C.J. Stroud, somebody along the way, and they don't know what to do. I know the Chiefs would probably love to run the ball and control it with a guy like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, maybe Jerick McKinnon, but I think they're going to end up in a shootout, which means a lot of Patrick Mahomes.
All right, Patrick Mahomes is a quarterback that you draft, you're probably going to start. But this one, the must-start running back, is a little bit different.
No, this is different. Chuba Hubbard. I think that over the last couple of weeks, he's really come on. He's got 4 rushing touchdowns on the season. 3 of them have come in the last 2 games, and he's really starting to.
I just love it's a must-start with the Panther. I love this.
I know. Listen, you got to throw them a bone.
Mix it up.
Everybody knows. Like a lot of these guys, like Alvin Kamara, we know to start him, but Hubbard definitely needs to start. This is usually a matchup that you would avoid, but I think over the last couple of weeks, this team has given up a lot of production on the ground, so we love Chuba Hubbard this week.
Chuba, y'all. All right, the must-start wide receiver today.
I'm going to go with DJ Moore. In the 4 games, listen to me. I know that I'm a homer. I don't care, but people need to hear this.
He's looked good.
In the 4 games where Justin Fields has played the full game, he's had at least 20-plus fantasy points. I do believe that regardless of what the game plan is, they're getting the ball to DJ Moore. So there's no doubt in my mind. I had a weird decision to make between DJ Moore and Devontae Adams today.
Really?
I'm going, yeah. My team's good.
You're taking DJ Moore.
Oh, of course,
okay.
Yeah. Gotta go.
You can't put Devontae in the flex? No?
There's some things.
All right, it's week 14, so this game probably this week means a lot for you in your fantasy playoffs. Maybe you begin the playoffs. Who knows what you're doing? I'm out. I got eliminated last week. Yeah. This game means nothing to me. Who is the must-avoid? the name that you normally put in there that you don't want in there today?
You know what's funny is we were being so nice to the Panthers previously. I got to go the other way with Adam Thielen, who for a large part of the season was their most reliable wide receiver. But over the last couple of weeks, that's really changed. I don't know if it's defenses rolling coverage to him. What's happening? We've seen more Jonathan Mingo get in there, although Jonathan Mingo has the most targets without getting a touchdown. Perhaps that changes this week for him, but I'm going to avoid Adam Thielen, which is unfortunate because he was so good for so long.
All right, maybe the Mingo gets a target. All right, there is your fantasy advice today. Time now for Who Scores. We do this every week. Who Scores is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Let's do the Vikings and the Raiders a little bit later on today. Justin Jefferson is coming back. That's a big deal. He could be part of your big parlay, same game parlay here on DraftKings. Alexander Madison involved. Devontae Adams, who you just mentioned here as well. All right, so who scores in this one, Vikings and Raiders, whether it's part of your parlay there or not?
I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson. I know that he's coming back, but they were very judicious with him in returning. They didn't rush him back, anything like that. He took his time. He should be fully healthy, should be ready to go. And Josh Dobbs was 2 minutes away from being benched the last time he played. I think that if you're coming back and you want to continue to be the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings, you find a way to get the football to Justin Jefferson. So that would be my pick.
He said his goal, Jefferson did, was 2,000 before the year began. Now that he missed the middle half of the season, his goal is 1,000. He's just shy of 600 right now. He's going to get there.
He'll get there.
Late game here at SoFi, Broncos-Chargers. Who scores in that one?
Courtland Sutton. I love the matchup against the Chargers defense. They've been very generous to opposing wide receivers this season. Courtland Sutton has been a great player over pretty much the course of the season. He gets in the end zone seemingly every week, so I think this is the easiest one to call here.
He has gotten in the end zone 9 different weeks.
Yeah.
It's not like he scored 3 touchdowns in one game. No, he has a touchdown in 9 different games. It's, to your point, almost automatic. That's Who Scores. Thank you, Adam Rank, who's sticking around, by the way. And Who Scores, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook this season. New customers can bet $5 and pocket $150 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, all customers can get a no-sweat, same-game parlay every day. Download the app and use the promo code GAME, G-A-M-E, GAME, when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Also yours, coming up next on NFL Game Day Preview, a trip to Chicago. Jared Goff and the Lions in an outdoor game for the last time this season. We're there next.
This dude right there, Metcalf, he might be the second coming.
73 yards, DK Metcalf.
He take what he wants from who he wants.
That's number 3 for DK.
Deebo. Whoa.
Turns the corner and goes into the end zone. Deebo Samuel is loose. Touchdown.
What an absolute beast.
Yeah, he is a beast. Deebo Samuel, the 4-0, since he came back and Trent Williams came back, and now the Niners head to Seattle today with a clinching scenario. Check it, that game's at home later on today. They win, plus a couple of losses there. Either the Vikings or the Packers, and the 49ers can wrap up a playoff spot today. And keep in mind as well that they might be facing Drew Lock. Back on NFL Game Day Preview, Adam Rank and Steve Whitecheer. That 4-0 stat, truly, Rank, about Deebo, I think tells it all. When this team is fully healthy, and he's a huge part of it, they're the best team, period.
Absolutely.
They're hard
I don't think there's any question anymore. And when Deebo is available and healthy for this 49ers team, the offense is completely different. It was amazing because as everybody talks about Brock Purdy being an MVP candidate, it really is Deebo. Deebo is the one that makes this go. When there was that stretch where they were struggling, it was because Deebo wasn't out. How hard is it to connect the dots here? And it's because he can do so many different things, and he makes you aware of where he is everywhere he's on the field. And I think that's, he's not going to be in the MVP conversation, but he's clearly the most important part of that 49ers offense.
He really is, as is their left tackle, Trent Williams. Remember, when he was out, that's when they lost those games, and Brock Purdy was getting warmed up a little bit. But I want to talk about the Seahawks defense in this game because this is an issue. The Niners own the Seahawks. It is very tough. They come in with Drew Lock. That's a problem. But then the Seahawks defensively, you were just talking about trying to stop Deebo Samuel. What the Niners do, inside zone, mid zone, outside zone, jet sweeps, that will stress a defense that if they don't reset the line of scrimmage like you saw in that video right there, they're in trouble. If they let the Niners control the line of scrimmage, they do not pursue the ball or get to some of the physicality of the ball like they used to, like we're seeing right here. They haven't done that lately. And so this could be a situation where if they don't stop it on the ground, Brock Purdy's not going to have to throw it 20 times today.
Right.
Yeah, and the Seahawks open 5-2. All right, they are now 6-6. They are now the 9 seed, and they lost to the 49ers when they had them at home on Thanksgiving night. They badly need this one, period, full stop. The Niners have the head-to-head on both the Cowboys and the Eagles. They have a shot here. They got a clear shot at number 1. Beat the Seahawks today. That game is coming up a little bit later. Coming up momentarily. Yeah, buddy. The Bucs and the Falcons, 5-5 at 6-6. Look at that beautiful NFC South, Steve White.
Right there.
Somebody has to win that division. The winner today will be in first. This is a rematch from that Week 7 game where Bijan was sick and then he only touched the ball 10 times. And fantasy people and Falcons fans, for that matter, were going nuts. Why isn't he in the game? We meet again.
Yeah, remember that's still the big scandal. They didn't list him on the injury report, this and that. Look, all you need to know about this is Bijan Robinson in the last 3 games has been averaging 21 touches. Maybe head coach Arthur Smith heard everyone say, why aren't you giving him the ball? And he started giving him the ball. Oh, the Falcons happen to be 3-0, and they seem to have some semblance of offensive rhythm, and they can keep the ball out of Desmond Ridder's hands. That's a huge deal right here because they're spreading him out. You're seeing it right. There's some inside runs, some inside passes. He's a dynamic player. Their offensive line, especially the right side, is playing well, except I think their tackle, Caleb McGarry's out this game. That's a big blow. But getting the ball to Bijan Robinson, Adam, is absolutely huge in a game like this against a Bucs team, as Andrew said, is desperate right now, and they've got some issues on their defensive, on the second level.
That's very true. First of all, I want to make sure Bijan's playing, right? If there's not going to be any curveballs today, he's fine. He didn't have a bad, sandwich in Ybor City or something like that. I just want to make sure.
He is allegedly up and
everything is okay. Everything's fine. One player who's been absolutely fine this season has been Mike Evans. And it's not just been this season. It's been for the entirety of his career. And in a position that is, demonstrative, where you have a lot of big personalities, Mike Evans just goes about his business very quietly. And he's going to be a free agent this upcoming season, and it's going to be really interesting to see what his market is. And what he should do is whatever he gets paid, cut a little bit to Baker Mayfield, because Baker Mayfield throws him the ball almost exclusively. True. Like at some point I want to text, I don't have Baker's number, but I would text somebody like, hey, Chris Godwin's a part of this team. And I only bring it up because he's on my fantasy squad, but he almost goes exclusive, and you can't blame him. I mean, Mike Evans is pretty awesome. He wants to win, but I think this Buccaneers team's got a shot still. I think that it's a fun game. I know we're making fun of it, but
it's a huge game. Absolutely.
It's a huge game, and it is fun. And the winner does take over the NFC South. And last time it required a Younghoe Koo field goal, 51 yards with no time on the clock to actually end this game. So they are evenly matched. And Chris Godwin's wife, did you catch that this this week? Kind of griping on social media about not getting the ball, and Chris said, no, that's not the case. And
guaranteed.
There
it is. I love it.
There's some fun stuff going on here. Somebody has to win the NFC South. We think.
Play host of the Cowboys.
We think. That team, Aiden Hutchinson and the Lions, likely win the NFC North. They are outdoors today in Chicago for the final time this year. It is their last scheduled outdoor game. It's a big one for the Bears as well, who are picking 1-5 right now, Stacey Dale. So there's that.
The Bears nearly beat the Lions back in Week 11. It took a 17-point comeback basically in 3 minutes for Detroit to win that game. A couple things on both sides of the ball have to be better for Detroit in Chicago today. Offensively, they can't turn it over. They had 4 turnovers against the Bears in Week 11. Chicago now has 8 takeaways defensively in their last 2 games. Justin Jones from their defensive front told me this week they are making the calls come to life. Jahmyr Gibbs from the Lions offense said, they do so much movement up front. They have to be able to handle those stunts, be great blockers, stay disciplined, and protect the football. And then defensively, for these Detroit Lions, they have to slow down this run game from Chicago. It was a season high for the Bears in Week 11, 183 on the ground. Fields, the quarterback, had 104 himself on the ground. Dan Campbell, the coach, said he's just so dangerous. Containment, such a priority against Justin Fields and the Bears, if the Lions want to come out of this one with a win today.
Remember that Jared Goff game in prime time, the cold in Soldier Field?
I'm cold watching that. Again.
What if Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford faced off in Detroit in the playoffs?
Oh boy.
Here. All right, coming up, back to Cleveland. Trevor Lawrence is moving around okay. Evidently, magic on that ankle. Conspiracy, he never had a high ankle sprain.
Stop. What? Stop it. Tony Khan wants you to write it down.
You're watching NFL Game Day Preview. The AFC Playoff Standings tightly packed here. Both the Ravens and the Dolphins hold in their hands a clear path to number one. Win out, and you're going to be number one. The Browns, the Colts, the Texans are the three wildcard teams right now after losing to the Patriots stunningly at home on Thursday night. The Steelers are now the 8th seed, and look at the Bengals hanging around. Everything feels different today in Cincinnati. Happy birthday, Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Oh, Rank, you and Burrow share a birthday.
It's me, Burrow, Jaquan Brisker, Matt Forte, and Raven Simone.
Bears, Ravens.
Yeah, yeah. That's a big group right there.
What?
Why are you all laughing?
You caught me. I didn't think. I was not expecting to hear the words Ravens back to back.
No.
Okay.
Well, shut it up.
But it does take us Ravens into the AFC North here. Chat. Steve, perhaps. Adam, perhaps. The Ravens are going to win the division in all likelihood unless they fall today to the Rams. But the Bengals are back in the wild card chase here because of Jake Browning. Adam, I know you said Jake Driscoll earlier.
Yeah,
okay.
Jake Browning.
Jake Driscoll, however, has also started for the Bengals, but not as well as Jake Browning. Jeff Driscoll, Jake Browning. Jeff.
There it is.
I'm all
all right,
over the
somebody
place.
talk.
What's your
We're getting there. This is our favorite Husky since Cynthia's dog.
There you
Gordy.
go.
So,
Gordy.
No, but the one thing that's amazing about Jake Browning is the path that he's taken to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. When you look at his career, he started off at UW and was amazing. His first 2 seasons were incredible. He was a can't-miss prospect, much like somebody like Joe Burrow. And then shoulder injuries, things fell off, and he's now found himself in a position to help lead the Bengals to the playoffs. And, of course, he's going up against another backup quarterback. This isn't what we expected when the season started, where we thought it would be Anthony Richardson against Joe Burrow. But I think this is still a pretty interesting matchup because both teams are in the mix for the playoffs. I think the Colts, at least to me, the Colts are a huge shock. I didn't think they were going to be this good.
Nobody did. And look, the one thing about the Bengals is they're such a talented team that Jake Browning can get it done. The key today, I think, for the Colts, who are as gritty and as tough, I mean, they play tough football. They are starting to really get after the quarterback. Browning is going to face some pressure. What Kwity Paye is doing off the edge, you know, you've got some interior pressure coming up from DeForest Buckner. There he is, number 99. They have really been attacking the quarterback. So there's going to be some pressure on Browning that we did not see when he played the Jaguars the other night. So this is going to be a challenge. And look, the Colts are middle of the pack in terms of overall pass defense. But again, the way that they're starting to play right now on both sides of the ball, this is a dangerous football team. And we talk about backup quarterbacks, but these are also backups who have been practicing with their teams or playing with their teams, in the case of Gardner Minshew, all season long. This isn't like they're just dropping somebody onto the field. So that factors into the overall functionality of this game as well.
This game feels a lot different now that the Bengals won on Monday night. The 7 seed, the 10 seed. This is a very good game. Truly, truly a very good game. That one's going to be in Cincinnati. Is Browning Nagel going to be there? Can we do that? Hey, coming up next week, Steve, you're going to be in Cincinnati. It's a huge Saturday showdown. NFL Network triple header. The Vikings and the Bengals. Those Colts welcome the Steelers to town. And then Dane Jarrus goes on the road to face Jared Goff and the Lions in Detroit. A triple header. NFL Network, NFL Plus. Be there all day long next Saturday for a triple header here on NFL Network. About to kick, the Houston Texans, in New York to face the Jets. C.J. Stroud wearing the Tank Dell t-shirt as Tank Dell is out for the year. Broke the leg last week. Huge part in the Rookie of the Year conversation, if not for his quarterback. One big question here about this team fighting for a playoff spot, Adam Rank.
Yes.
Can the Texans survive the loss of Tank Dell?
I believe that they can. I mean, the guy that he was talking to was Garrett Wilson. If he could just switch squads right there, I think it would be helped immediately. But there is a lot of questions because not only was Tank Dell playing excellent this season, but Dalton Schultz was also coming on too, and he's going to be out this week. So it's going to come down to guys like Brevin Jordan. It's going to come down to Nico Collins. Maybe Bobby Trees gets out there. They got to find it somewhere. Noah Brown, like there's opportunities. Can they run the football? You know, Devin Singletary took a little bit of a step back last week, but Damian Pierce got into the mix. There's some talent there still, but it's hard to replace those two guys.
All right, Garrett Wilson there hugging it out with his former college teammate, C.J. Stroud. Stroud, the quarterback for the Texans. Derek Carr is going to be the quarterback today. Steve Wyche for the New Orleans Saints. He is up. He is active. He is back after a concussion and other injuries last week. But is Derek Carr the quarterback? Who is the quarterback of the Saints next season?
Yeah, look, it's going to be Derek Carr in all likelihood just because his contract says so. He is guaranteed $30 million right now for 2024. If he is on the roster as of March 2024, an additional $10 million kicks in for 2025. So he could actually be their quarterback the next 2 years. The bigger question could be who's coaching Derek Carr after this season. I mean, look, this game against Carolina, this is no gimme for the Saints. They are down Taysom Hill. They are down Rashid Shaheed. They're down some key players on defense as well. This is a chance where if Derek Carr doesn't get this offense going, the Saints could be really floundering, so to speak. They're not doing great as it is. He's trying to gut it out. But again, their future, Derek Carr looks like he continues to be their quarterback. And we also know, as good as the Saints are, have been doing cap gymnastics, they are really up against it. And at some time, they have got to pay the piper. And Derek Carr, cutting him would be more expensive than keeping.
Frank Reich already out in Carolina, and you don't want any coach to lose their job during the holiday season, anyone to lose their job this time of the year, but it almost feels like the winner of the NFC South keeps his job. Everybody else might be in trouble.
It's only one way to play this game. From the first snap to the last, fast and physical all day. Let's go get this win now. Let's go. Win on three. 1, 2, 3. Win. What you want to do now? Turn it up now. Turn it up now. Touchdown, Ravens. Kazay is in the board. Puka Nacua to the crib. He flipped in for 6. Hell yeah, man. 9 and dime paying dividends.
All right, NFL Game Day preview shows you now the NFC playoff picture with the Rams now back in the conversation at 6-6. They've won 3 in a row. They are in rainy Baltimore today. Steve Wyche facing a very good Mike Macdonald defense, but with an O-line last week that really, I don't want to say played a perfect game, but were lights out against the Browns.
Right, and then look, that's been the key. I mean, this guard, Steve Avila, who the Rams have drafted, he is a fantastic, dynamic player. He's going to have to lead a running attack with Kyron Williams, another rookie. I mean, when they want to pound the ball, he is a fantastic hammer. But the protection that they've shown, you know that McDonald, they're going to be sending all kinds of pressures. The way this offensive line for the Rams has played, here you're seeing him against the run, working on a thread. They've got an opportunity to do some things in a game that they have to win, but against a defense that is great on all 3 levels. And like you said, not even allowing 16 points a game.
I still love Kyron Williams, mostly because he doesn't split any time there with anybody else in that back.
Yeah.
And I know it's going against the Ravens, but still, Kyron Williams. I don't know. That's my little fantasy tip for anybody who's still tinkering with their lineups at the last second. But speaking of that, I've had Zay Flowers on my squad for for this season. He's a 1-year guy, but I really would like to see him get in the mix more, especially when they get near the goal line. Here we had to go through and find some footage of him actually getting into the end zone. He's been a really good wide receiver, but he hasn't really taken over that mantle, not like Tank Dell was in Houston, where he's been the guy that they look for when they get near the goal line. Now, obviously, with Mark Andrews out, we're looking for somebody to step up for this Ravens team. Obviously, Gus Edwards does a nice job running the football. They got Keaton Mitchell, who's getting more and more playing time. But I would love Zay Flowers to take that next step. If you're going to compete with some teams like the Miami Dolphins in the playoffs, you've got to score points, and they got to get more production, touchdown-wise, from Zay Flowers.
We are 7 minutes away from kickoff, 3 minutes until end of show, which means it is time to make some Sunday statements. Steve Wyche, you go first.
I was laying the breadcrumbs in my last thing, but the Carolina Panthers today get at least one takeaway, and they knock off the New Orleans Saints.
Wow.
To the chagrin of the Chicago Bears, because this could still.
You have the Panthers winning a football game.
Stop it.
I do.
No.
I do.
We don't want that. Now, everything's been going against me this weekend. Can I at least have one thing of the...
Wait. As a Bears fan, you had the Steelers gift on Thursday.
That is true. That wasn't the weekend. I better start the NFL week. All right, Mitch Trubisky with his biggest win for the Bears in his career. I will say, I'll stick with the Bears, though, because I'm just going to lean in here, and I'm going to say, you know what? Justin Fields is not going to throw 40 screen passes this week against the Detroit Lions.
Is that a guarantee?
They can't. It is a guarantee.
Or your money back.
Matt Eberflus comes out and was like, hey, he throws a deep ball really well. I'm like, yeah, Matt, if only you had some say in this. If only you were the head coach or something. Tell him to go out there and stretch the field. Now, obviously, going up against Brian Flores and that zero blitz and all that pressure, like, okay, get rid of the ball. But this is an opportunity to throw the ball down the field, and I understand that it's windy there a little. It's Chicago, so of course the weather can change at any moment. And he runs really well against the Lions, but they got to stretch the field, and they got to get the ball into the hands of DJ Moore. And I'm done hearing about people asking to draft a quarterback or anything like that. Justin Fields, just go out there and take this.
There you go. I'm all for it. Hey, you know what? Build around him. But you got to play well.
I love it.
To do that. My Sunday statement. Welcome back, Justin Jefferson.
Yes.
He said he wanted 2,000 yards. Now that's not going to happen, so his new goal is 1,000 yards. He's just under 600. Justin Jefferson's going to get $150 today.
Woo! Oh, yeah.
That shocking. But they're playing the Raiders. The game is in Vegas. Justin Jefferson for $150 today against the Raiders is my Sunday statement. Lock it down.
This is your statement.
I love
this. You knock this out every week, bro.
Last week I had Tyreek scoring 3 times. He only scored twice.
Oh, my gosh. You got to take the L on that one.
Oh,
for crying
Happy
out loud.
birthday, Rank. I didn't do this. Who did this? That's
Who
well
did
done.
this? That's
well
great.
done.
Thank you.
Balloons and everything.
I tried to sneak through. I thought, like, because I got through the Friday fantasy show, and I'm like, I'm not gonna have to worry about this.
Did you get the fur coat for Frank Lucas?
Yeah, that's our guarantee, the Joe Namath thing. So I do a guarantee every week. Now I do a wig because we've stepped it up. But
I got one more Sunday statement. Yeah, I think the Jets are going to beat the Texans.
Yes,
I'm nuts.
I'm with you.
I think that White's are making a face.
Not feeling it at all.
I think the Jets are going to beat the Texans. Team Zach Wilson today, everybody.
Happy birthday, Adam.
For me.
Come on, Staley.